recording. All right, everyone, this is our monthly district advisor meeting. Thanks for joining. I've got everyone muted, but you can unmute yourself if you want to speak up. Like we usually do, go ahead, put your name and where you're from into the chat, so we'll have that recorded. All right, thanks everyone. Probably a pretty quick meeting today. We pretty much said everything we could possibly think of at the conference, and most of you were there. I know for sure. So first of all, let me say that the slides that I think were related to advisor, I have them posted on the NDE resources tab here in our Google site now. This is also where we have the dashboard documentation and last year's conferences out here too. I think we recorded some sessions to video, so I will be, once those get processed, I will post those links here as well. So this one, like the better data for better decisions, that was the plenary session, the big long one. So that's out here. First thing I wanted to cover really was just, you know, any questions or feedback from the conference. Was there something that we talked about for 1819 or for 1920 that you're still confused about? Go ahead and send me any questions you have. There's people on this call are probably just all caught up in everything. So, and like I said, if you want to talk, go ahead and unmute yourself. Well, I'll take that as we're all good. Advisor validation, like I covered in the conference, we still have a group of things we need to get done here at NDE. So I'm really trying to get these all done by the end of the month at the latest. We talked about new access roles, especially for discipline. There's some lookup bug fixes I know we need to work on, adding additional graduation cohort reports. There's a few other year-end reports we need to do, like a Rule 18 interim or just a couple. There's some nightly data builds that is something I need to work on very soon, such as the course endorsement report, CTE participants, programs of study. The course endorsement is kind of both student course data and staff. We might end up posting that one in both advisor validation and NSSRS validation. And then participants, programs of study, that'll all be in advisor validation, of course. The 3.1 upgrade, we talked about this at the conference too. This is kind of my summary of the big changes. Only things we've added since last month, the crisis event item that came out really recently, that you attach to a student that says this student was affected by this crisis event. And NDE controls what the crisis events are defined as anyway. The calendar is supposed to be a lot simpler. We just collect a single amount that says how much of each day was in session or instructional. A little less complicated than the way we do it now. An override to collect a personal days in session for a student that wouldn't, so the student doesn't have to be in the correct calendar as a workaround there for unique students. The student resource will, we want to provide this in-house, so the data would come from Person ID. That would simplify the publishing. So districts always publish Student School Association first, and then demographics, whatever. So next fall, that should make that initial publishing a little simpler than some of the stuff we did this fall. We showed off the Person ID system a little bit, just some screenshots. We are still in the process of developing that. If you didn't attend that session, you just kind of want to see some of the pictures. Again, that the slides are out here. But obviously, it's meant to look and act a lot like our unique ID system. The idea is that sometime probably early August, we would be rolling out the new system. And so in order to keep all the IDs straight, basically at the same time we roll out the new system, we also shut off unique ID. This came up in the conference, but I want to encourage districts to, use the data download from their SIS and upload that to the Person ID system. That's just the best way of keeping all your unique ID data, getting new IDs, getting names in sync. So, it's meant that should be very easy to do. I know Becky was telling me about how that's actually very challenging in unique ID because of the way the files are processed when they're published. So I'm expecting that the new system will simplify that. You should be able to upload a file with all of your students in your district, and if the file already has all of their IDs attached, generally the file would get processed immediately. And if it detects students with no changes, then nothing happens. If it detects students that already have an ID, but you just give them a different name, it'll just automatically grab the new name, and shouldn't require any intervention from a user. So I guess I'm surprised that unique ID didn't work that way, but I guess we're hoping to improve on unique ID. Any questions about a Person ID or the 1920 stuff? All right. Attendance, we covered this at the conference, and it was in the previous bulletin. We went back on some of the attendance requirements, so make that a lot easier. Early childhood students who are not reporting to one of your center-based programs no longer need attendance. And we've updated some of this guidance documents as well. The Who Reports What has been updated. We also need to make a few tweaks to the data elements to reflect the same thing. We'll be publishing that very soon. So I think you're familiar with our attendance challenges at this point. We're still getting some districts are working through some things with some of the vendors. Yeah, the core section enrollments, I think I mentioned at the conference. This would be something like, if you have schools that don't have any sections reported, this would be a good opportunity to put a warning or an info item into advisor validation, just to let you know it's not necessarily wrong because this data is not due till June, but it's something that might concern us if you don't have any courses by May. Vendor updates, nothing big for 1819 yet. We're still working through some testing options with Certica and NWEA in regards to rostering and other data transfers. Haven't heard much of anything from anyone else. I know Amy just ran into an issue with PowerSchool that they're looking into now, with the duration of absences reported on partial days.
Correct.
So, yep. They are looking into that. That is something that will be fixed before the end of the year-end collection.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. I have two questions, actually. The follow-up collection that will be coming up this fall, like for summer school grades and changing enrollments for kids who have come back if they were dropped out, Bob, all those things we used to do. Okay, so it's still going to be syncing the 1819, and then it will be due 1920 also?
Generally, all of the SISs should support sending data to multiple years at the same time. It'll just kind of depend on what year you are flipped into your SIS, and that'll determine where the data publishes generally.
Okay, I wasn't sure how, because we can only have one active year, and if we're doing this in August or whatever, I didn't know how that worked. So
even if you have one active year, I assume you could still go back to your previous year, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that it will still publish data from that year.
So it'll be publishing for both, and it'll know where to go.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the specifics about how that works on campus, but
okay,
I'm pretty sure that would be true.
And then another question I have, I noticed under Section 8A, you're talking about TestWiz and then NWEA. I thought we were publishing to NWEA through Clever. That's how we do it. But are they going to start taking student information and course sections and that kind of stuff directly from Ed5? Because I know they do some things like SPED and that kind of stuff they get from Advisor. But are they going to be pulling everything now from Advisor?
That is what they've been testing as far as pulling rosters for MAP.
Okay.
Directly from Advisor. There's been some issues with some of the data I still consider it very much in testing.
Okay.
It's only meant to be optional at this point. I haven't heard of any plans to say we're pulling all data from Advisor only.
Okay.
So they still give you multiple options.
Okay, so, but TestWiz is, because I haven't been uploading to that. They seem to be doing it okay.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to get the data in there, but yeah, they might be pulling it from your...
I think they're pulling it right from Advisor, but yeah, NWEA, I know we've been using Clever, but then I heard this, they're going to be pulling, so I didn't know if that, either way is good as long as I don't have to do it manually.
Yeah. All right.
This is Glenna Withers from HTRS Schools.
Hey.
And I have a question about NAI. Are we going to have to do anything to get those scores reported?
Very little. The only thing you need to do is when you are in the CDC, you are filling out that Nebraska Education Profile collection, that's the real easy collection we have every year, where you put in the paragraph that describes your district or whatever. Jill added a little function there to where you will tell us what grade level you want to use. Grade levels, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And what did you say that was called?
That is now the NEP, or Nebraska Education Profile Collection, in the CBC.
Glenna, this is Amy. If you got our NABPS letter, the information's in there.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Other than that, you do not have to send us any kind of data. We will be getting it from MAP. Where, I don't know, Jill, do you know exactly, have we figured out the issue about which assessment we'll use out of which testing period?
We had thought we were going to use the last one, whatever the last test was. However, someone did bring up an issue at the conference that maybe that's not a good one to use. We're going to reevaluate the choices there, hopefully in the next week or so. If we decide to give districts a choice of choosing which one, what we would do is update that NEP collection to add it there. So keep an eye on the bulletin in case we do make that change. The other option is just do the last test per student. Yeah, we're going to do some additional evaluation, try to make that determination, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or less.
Okay. We'll, sure, either way, we'll let you know in the bulletin.
That collection's due, I believe, well, June 15th and June 30th, end of the window. So if we decide to make any change to this, it will be made before the end of May to give districts a chance to go ahead and also complete that portion.
So you'll have directions on how to go in and let us mark what we need to do, because I took this back to our admin too, and they were pretty concerned about if we use spring, because not all kids we're not required to test in the spring here in our district.
Yep. If we have to collect anything else, that again will be part of that NEP collection in the CDC. It's really, right now, there's just kind of, you know, one or a few new fields in that collection. I think we've got it marked in the instructions for the collection as well. It's been updated there.
I have a question for you. Would you want that choice at the school level or at the district level?
I'd say our whole district.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, that either we do it in the fall, because that's when it's district-wide, or by student, the last test the student took, which that makes sense to me anyway.
If anybody has some additional input they would like to provide on that, you could, that looks like a lot of districts. If you want to provide any additional input, you can just send a JITBIT ticket in and they'll make sure they get it directed to me so I can review them.
All right. I think that was everything I wanted to cover. Oh, I skipped over this. The 1920 sandboxes for the vendors who are on the call. We are making those final updates to get that going. I expect in the next couple of days, maybe within the next week, we should have the new sandbox ready. I'll send you an email because we'll have to pull down the existing sandboxes when we deploy that. And then when we post that new sandbox, we'll also update our changes document, our interchange requirements document. I will get the SDK posted at the same time this time. So look for an email from me about that. Okay, I think that's it. Our next meeting will be June 12th.
Max, there was a question from Gary. Did you get that one answered?
Oh, I did not. I did not see that. That was Glenna. Yeah, we talked about that. I didn't see anything from Gary.
Oh, did he not? Oh, he just sent it to me. With the buyer chain, the person ID, can you get access to it by default? Oh, so basically his question, I think, is once we move over, were people who had access to unique ID system, will they automatically then have access to the person ID system? Or has that been determined?
I don't know. We haven't decided that yet. The roles in the new system will be pretty similar to the old roles. It's kind of up to us to decide, do we think that's a good idea, or is it better to get a fresh start with the security, so we are taking out people that no longer really need access to the system. So I would say we haven't decided that yet.
Doesn't that be the district's responsibility?
Yeah, if we need you to assign the codes, then
No, I meant.
in August you'll have access to the code for person ID, and you can hand those out.
Okay.
But we will let you know about that. Check the bulletin. That's where you'll see. Well, and this meeting, that's where we'll be putting news about the person ID system as we get closer. So.
And then if I could just add a few things, PowerSchool folks, Google, we do continue to update the Google site with some troubleshooting documents or whatnot. I am starting to get some questions about about summer school. At this point in time, if you have a question, unless you're part of the NEBPS cooperative, please just open a ticket with the advisor help desk, and we'll try to help you out via that direction. And then my last question to mostly PowerSchool users is I do have some Zoom room times that that I have available on Fridays, and I can post my calendar in this chat because then you can sign up for them. But kind of a quick question is, would some Zoom rooms, some specific topics be worthwhile, such as like on Friday, May, whatever, 17th or whatever day, people can join and we'll talk about how to set up summer school. On whatever day, we'll talk about errors. So if that's something that you think might be helpful for those folks that aren't part of a consortium, just let me know via the chat or send me a quick email and I can get more specific. Just trying to make use of the time that I do have available and get districts helped out.
All right. If that's it for this month, talk to everyone again in June. Thanks for joining.